We're here talking with Mr. Noah Griffin as our special guest, who is a native and still lives close to San Francisco. You live in Marin right now. What we call Marin is close enough to home to say that you're still here in San
It's a San
Francisco.
Francisco annex.
Oh, that's correct. Now, with your history of being a singer and musician and from starting at a young age, do you remember the first time you performed in front of people?
You know, that's a good question. I remember some of the early times. It could very well have been at Fellowship Church, or it could have been a Westside Christian Church. I do remember singing Away at a Manger as my audition song for the boys' chorus, and I was 7. I was a little bit nervous at that. But I've sung probably thousands of times. I can't quite remember the very first time.
I understand. I understand. As a singer, who are some of the people that inspire you?
Well, you know, when I was coming along, there was Nat King Cole, and of course there was Sammy Davis, and there was Johnny Mathis, because Johnny had gone to my high school 10 years before, and I did a lot of singing with his youngest brother Mike. He grew up on 32nd Avenue across from the old Safeway out there, and we sang all through junior high together, and then in high school at the St. Monica's Catholic High School dances. We sang at the YMCA dances, the teen time. Lucille Lando had a show on KSAN, which broadcasted live on Market Street on Sunday afternoons. A lot of singing, and so the people I admired were kind of the major stars at that time. Sinatra, obviously. And if you have to remember, in those days, it wasn't unusual to have Unforgettable in the top 40 along with Maybe Don't Be Cruel. So the top 40 wasn't as restricted and seriated as it is today. You have certain stations that only do this format or that format. So you had a wide opportunity to appreciate rock and roll and jazz and pop singing all at the same time. I mean, you might have Franny and Teicher along with the Coasters, you know, the very same top 40.
Wonderful. Just sort of thinking about how things were then and how they are now, are there any things about San Francisco, old San Francisco, that you can compare to San Francisco then, San Francisco now?
Well, San Francisco then had many more clubs. I mean, you had the Jazz Workshop, you had the El Matador, you had a very happening scene in the Fillmore in the 1940s, which I was too young to participate in, which lasted all the way up through the last maybe redevelopment, which is now going through a whole renaissance. But there seemed to be a lot more of a happening jazz scene in the city then than there is now. You had the Fairmont Hotel, or the Venetian Room, where Ella Fitzgerald and Nat Cole would come. You had big bands playing at the St. Francis Hotel, the Mark Hopkins Hotel. It was different kind of music, different genre, different era. And then, of course, you went through the whole disco thing, which kind of was a full unemployment for a lot of live musicians. And that was kind of a transitional thing. So San Francisco's gone through a lot of different changes. And now it seemingly is coming back, particularly with the Fillmore Heritage Center, and being able to appreciate some of our past and revitalize it, and hanging on to some of the good things that took place, and not just throwing everything out with the change.
Wonderful. You talked about being involved with the boys' chorus.
Boys' chorus, Lady Bacon.
And then in junior high school, you worked with a
We had a little
quartet.
group called the Kings. Yeah.
At some point, you moved on to being a solo artist. So how did that transition, and when did that transition at least begin, and how has it gotten you to where you are now?
Well, that happened about the 9th grade, the 10th grade, and I went out singing on my own. And then in the 11th grade, 1962, I was bold enough to go audition at the Hungry Eye. I thought I was ready for it. And Dave Allen was the manager of the room, and Ira Blue was broadcasting from the other room. And I auditioned, and they tape recorded the thing. And they said, you know, this is great. You really know how to sing a song, how to sell a song. But there are a couple of things you need to work on. And why don't we get you some pros to work with? So Dave hooked me up with Merrill Hoover, fantastic pianist, musician who's been around. Merrill would play for Anita O'Day in Japan all the time. When Billie Holiday came in the 50s, he accompanied her. He was at the, I think, Gold Street when he passed on, but all the top musicians. In fact, when Teddy Wilson came to town, I got a chance to meet him through Merrill. And so that was a wonderful association. So I went off on my own and kind of continued on ever since then. However, connecting up with various groups like the Jubilee Singers at Fisk University and the University Choir at Harvard, which was a paid position that I participated in, where we got a chance to do the sacred concert with Duke Ellington. He did it twice.
Wow.
He debuted in San Francisco at Grace Cathedral in 1966. He also did it again in 1969, 1970 in Boston. I got an opportunity to solo with Duke and also to audition for him, which was a huge thrill.
Amazing. Now, this tape that you said that they took when you first auditioned for The Hungry Eye,
Yes.
is it still available?
You know, I wish I had it. There's another tape I sang a solo with the choir in high school, something from Oklahoma. I got to Kansas City on a Friday, and I'd like to go back to see if somewhere I could find that. Some of the recordings with the voice chorus, I'm not soloing them, are around. I'd like to get those as well, and also the tape we did with the Kings going. I can't even tell which voice is mine because my voice hadn't changed yet.
Wow.